Welcome to Keep IT Healthy podcast, a show hosted by people making things happen in technology, aiming to optimize healthcare delivery, health, well-being, and fitness. My name is Jan Kamiński and I'm the co-founder of Applover, a company dedicated to improving the quality of life with IT solutions and digital advisory. We started making this podcast to amplify great thinking to propel healthcare forward. Our guest today is Alberto Conde Mellado, founder of Glucovibes. Hey, Alberto.
Hi. How are you doing today, Jan?
I'm great. As always in our podcast, we want to give our audience some context to our guests. Maybe you can tell us, or you can talk about your early interest in technology and how it led you to the current role that you're currently holding.
First of all, I need to say that from a very early stage, when I was a child, I had quite a big interest in how machine works. And my father was a lorry driver, so for me, the best vacation possible was to go in the truck with my dad and traveling around Spain in my case, but most of all deciding that some kind of failure happens in order to repair it and to have grease in my hands and everything. So I think that childhood, let's say that sent to me to the technological part of my studies when I start studying engineering. And after that, following my father's lead, but in a different way, I traveled and I had some experience in my first labor experience in Germany, working in the automotive industry. And after that, I came to Spain, to the Basque Country again, and I started my PhD period where I focused my learning on my interest on data analytics and artificial intelligence. And from that to today, let's say that it was a continuous learning process, most of all focused on data, on how data could improve industry in my last, I would say, 20 years. I'm today more focused in the health environment and lifestyle, let's say, data analytics.
When I was doing the research, obviously I noticed that you've been a pioneer in the field of data analysis and predictive modeling. Can you share maybe some key projects that significantly contributed to this field?
I always say that I started working with big data when the data wasn't big, because we didn't have we didn't have a lot of data about the problems that we were trying to solve. My early studies were focused on the railway and rolling stock technology, so trains, to be clear for the audience. So I was focused, my PhD was focused on trying to solve potential future failures of a train before it happened. So I was focused on trying to modeling the normal behavior of different key parameters of a train, let's say temperatures, pressures, other kind of physical variables, and try to predict when a potential future failure could come and try to avoid it with a predictive, let's say, strategy. So this first study or years of work gave us a patent. So I patented a system for trying to predict failures in a complex machine environment. So this was my, let's say, first rodeo in this data analytics environment.
What happened later? I mean, because obviously you didn't stay at the university.
So I was hired by, well, I need to say that during my PhD period, I founded my first company, which was focused on the serious games and, again, using data analytics in order to improve, in this case, the learning process. And it was a company focused on learning by playing. And it was like hobby, let's say. And my aim was to focus on that company once my PhD was ended. But I was hired by the company I was working for in my PhD as let's say maintenance manager or maintenance director of a trains company, rolling stock company. So I was there like 6 months more or less, but I saw that it was very difficult to put in order and to start let's say transforming cultures, people, everything in order to make things differently from a technological point of view. And I mean, I share my thoughts and my resignation with my superior in that case, and the CEO of the company told me what was in my mind. So I told very honestly to them, and I said, okay, I think that we could found another company just for this topic and start working on predictive analytics, not just for trains, but for other kind of complex machine. And that was the beginning of my second company, which was NEM Solutions, a company that was focused on predictive analytics for trains and for wind turbines, because wind turbine and rolling on a train are in fact quite similar. They work with different kind of components and subsystems, but in the different order. One of them is extracting energy from a rotatory movement, which is the wind turbine, and a train consume energy in order to generate a rotatory movement for the wheels. So, well, that was in my mind, and we start working internationally from the beginning, and we did a very quick growth, and in 6 to 7 years we were up to $5 million of revenues with customers in the 5 continents, and I was there for 10 years. It was like a complete decade, and finally I quit the company when the company was sold to wind turbine manufacturer Siemens Gamesa. And at that point, Siemens Gamesa owned the 50%, and the other 50% was from CAF, rolling stock manufacturer. So I left the company with 60 people and more than 6 million of euros in revenues. So yeah, that was my adventure in the, let's say, artificial intelligence applied to complex machines.
But when that moment happened that you were driven to founding your own company, because as you mentioned, you worked for those that you worked for a few before. Some of them scaled up, some of them didn't. But what was the main incentive? How did it how did it happen?
Yeah, during at the end of my PhD, I was detected with a chronic illness, which is ankylosing spondylitis. Is like it's an autoimmune disease. It's an autoimmune illness, and in my case, it's like continuous inflammation in my sacroiliacal articulations, and it generates rigidity, let's say stiffness in some of my movements, most of all in the hips. In my case, at the beginning, I didn't give it a lot of let's say importance. I mean, it was treatment, some medication, some drugs, that pills that they need to take every day, and I was quite a sportive guy, and yeah, I changed a lot of my routines. I mean, I could be running like 70, 80 kilometers per week because I was in the triathlon world. And after this illness, I mean, even I couldn't even walk in some days. Okay, so it was a quite tough moment in my life, a very emotional one, because it was like the end of the world for me. And I put my focus on my work and working on this company, and trying to put it in a good place in the market. I learned a lot with it, and then I became father. and my illness could be hereditary. So that was the game changer in my mind. So I started telling to me every night that I needed to try to find something in order at least to leave it this legacy for my children in order to, okay, I mean, I have this disease, okay, it's a very rare disease, but I'm sure that maybe with my humble capacity in the diet analytics, I can start recording all my data, nutrition, sleep behavior, activity, and everything, and try to see if there is something that I can match together with my stiffness, with my mobility reduction, with my pain, everything. And at the end, I said, okay, the unique way to do that is to put all my effort here. And that was the final decision to give the transition to found my own company. I'm focused on health. And yeah, that was the game changer moment in my life.
Okay, so very very personal motivation. But like since we're at it, so what is Glucovibes essentially?
I mean, Glucovibes is, I will tell you, or I will tell you how Glucovibes born, because I think that it's um, it's a very egoistic film. It's my movie, let's say that way, and I need to say that way because it's the reality. But at
Hmm.
the same way, it's a tool to offer to the society a way to understand how they are performing with themselves in their lifestyles. Okay, so most of all, as I said, I was recording all the information about nutrition, activity, and recovery or sleeping, let's say, behavior of my life. But I didn't have any kind of continuous biomarker or physiological value. Okay, so I could have some blood test, but you didn't do a blood test hourly or daily. So you could have one each couple of months, for example, and it was very difficult to measure from a I am an engineer, okay? So from an PhD, from an engineer point of view, it's very difficult to measure something and to extract conclusions with scientific rigor, okay? Without something to measure them. So I found the continuous glucose monitoring devices, and I tried a couple of them in order to try to understand which was the relationship between metabolism, all my recording data, and this physiological value, which was the glucose level, as a continuous variable. And I start finding very key aspects in my life that I thought that they were healthy, but I tried different kind of things, and I detected that they weren't so healthy as I thought. Okay, so my wife is a biochemistry. Okay, so she helped me a lot in this emotional history because it's as well is the her history for sure. And I went as well through superior studies in Stanford Medicine University of Nutrition Science in order to complete my postdoctoral, uh, let's say, learning process. So after that, I saw that it was a lack of tools in order to put together all the data that we are generating with our lifestyle. Okay, what we eat, what we move, what we rest, and together with that, to have some physical variables in order to measure the impact of our lifestyle in our metabolism. Okay, so this is how glucovibes happens. Let's say that way, and what we try to do is metabolic GPS for everyone, a way to tell you where are you from your from let's say healthy lifestyle point of view, where are you, and you can tell us where do you want to go from that perspective, and our GPS gives you the best way to reach your goal with, let's say, natural behavior, understanding a precision nutrition strategy in order to help you achieving your goals. So it's a way to understand yourself internally, understand how your body works and how your metabolism works. And we put some continuous physiological variables working for you, okay? Putting in context all the lifestyle data that we are collecting from our users, because we are integrated with different kind of devices like smart rings, smart watches, bracelets, the phone which has a lot of information from our lifestyle. We have our own nutrition database, ultra tagged with a lot of attributes to understand the micronutrients and the macronutrients balance in the life of our customers. So the thing is to put all the lifestyle information together and a measurement tool in order to extract conclusions to put in your hands, let's say, precision nutrition strategies.
How do you integrate new technologies and biosense? I mean, because these are biosensors, right? Or
Yeah,
sense of some sort. Okay, so how do those biosensors a contribute to understanding the metabolism? That's my first question. And
okay.
in what ways can those real-time monitoring of parameters like glucose impact the management of health conditions?
First of all, these CGM devices, these biosensors, came to market in order to solve a real problem in the diabetes world, okay, in order to allow people with diabetes managing better their disease, the illness, okay, the daily routines in order to check the glucose levels, avoid the finger trips, okay, and make it in a more continuous way without pain. And I think that is a very big innovation. The thing is that glucose level is something useful for a lot of things, not just for diabetic or diabetes or people with diabetes. So why? The thing is that glucose is our main source of energy, but each time we are not eating, we are putting glucose in our stream each 15 minutes or if 20 minutes. We used to take from, I don't know, 3 to 5 meals per day, and those meals are the moments where we are introducing glucose together with other kind of macronutrients like proteins and fats. Most of our glucose comes from carbohydrates, okay? So the thing is that each time we are consuming a meal, our metabolism needs to absorb these macronutrients, okay, and to put it in the blood vessels. But our body cannot work with high amounts of sugar or let's say glucose concentration permanently. So we have another hormone, which is the insulin, which is the one to the let's say the focus of the insulin is to guarantee continuous glucose levels or lower glucose levels in the bloodstream, and of those glucose peaks is moving to the liver, where it is where the glucose or the I would say again the glucose is becoming glycogen. Okay, we have a little glycogen storage capacity in the liver and in the muscles. So all the rest of the glucose we are putting that cannot be converted in glycogen because we don't have more storage in your body, uh, it's becoming fat, and we have more space to storage fat. This is a non-stop storage for fat. So this is something key because it's the simplest way of how glucose, fats, and metabolism are related, uh, and understanding the glucose peaks that we are experimenting each after each meal and the glucose levels during the day, we can understand if our metabolism is using properly those glucose levels, if we are gaining fat because our peaks are very, very high and we are generating big amounts of insulin in order to, let's say, storage this extra glucose that we are putting in our body. And if we put this together with the activity, okay, we can understand if all that what we are eating it's burning or not. So if we have a continuous glucose monitoring, we can understand how our liver as well is putting glycogen in the bloodstream when we are exercising ourselves. Okay, so we can analyze as well how the nutrition strategy and how the feeding strategy is related to the activity. So this is how understanding glucose levels could help us understanding a little bit more how our metabolism is working, because each one of us is different. And I could take a banana and my blood glucose could have a very big spike, but maybe you, Jan, you can have a banana and you could be quite stable. There are a lot of factors in context there. One of them is the metabolism itself. The other one is how your muscles or mitochondria is managing this energy, and this is what we are trying to understand individually for each person. A way to teach them how the metabolism is working and how the different kind of hormones are balanced in the body. Because if we have big amount of glucose spikes, we probably will have as well big amount of insulin in our body. If we have big amounts of insulin, even in a let's say stationary moment, our body probably will burn less fat, and we could have more tendency to overweight. So there are a lot of hormones working together, and yeah, we can monitor the glucose right now with our let's say service, but this is something that we are trying to improve, and this is the way we are integrating through APIs other kind of devices like Garmin, Apple Watch, and all this information in order to put it together and cross the different kind of variables.
As I understand, so it's for everyone, but it's also for athletes, for example.
Yeah, I mean, we have different kind of verticals. We have people that just want to understand their metabolism, have a healthier lifespan, and yeah, it's not about, let's say, longevity from more years to live, but the quality of those years. So there are a lot of customers that are focused on being healthier and understand better how are they performing every day. So maybe some of them they had weight management problem or goal. Other could have internal interest in understanding the body, let's say well-being and a healthier lifestyle. And in the other hand, we could have let's say more focused people on performance, for example, or elite athletes, or even amateurs. Like it could be myself. I mean, I I, I perform a lot of sports, and I like to be, let's say, competitive. Okay, so this way we are more focused on fueling strategies in order to ensure that our customers or clients have the specific core levels of glucose in each moment or in each moment of their activity, because there is a very different way to consume glucose depending the intensity of the activity. So at low intensities, probably an athlete is consuming more fat than glucose. But at the time that you are increasing intensity and the heart rate goes up, okay, glucose as well should be going up in the bloodstream. So there are some relationships that we are acquiring, and we are modeling our athletes, let's say that way, in order to ensure the best fueling strategy, not just in amount of carbohydrates or energy source, but the frequency of, let's say, meals during the activity, the previous meal, the post meal. So there are a lot of things that could help a lot to an athlete, not just to perform better, but to recover better.
When I was reading over the website and checking the app, I mean, I saw that you also talk a lot about AI there. And could you provide some examples of how artificial intelligence is utilized in the personalized treatments offered by Glucovibes? And in
Yeah,
general, how does AI enhance the effectiveness of these treatments?
so I will say that we have different kind of eye levels. Okay, so first of all, the more, let's say, or the simplest one could be the algorithms that we are using in order to cluster all of our clients, all the information we have, and we have a metabolic database with more than 600,000 hours of data of different kind of clients. If we put everything together, there are a big amount of data. So the thing is that we need to cluster this data to extract conclusions and maybe to generate, as we tell, archetypes of human beings. Let's say the way. Okay, um, the precision comes with other kind of algorithms where inside each cluster we can define different kind of strategies in order to see, okay, this kind of cluster of this kind of metabolisms uh, show, show shows more, let's say, absorption to this kind of carbohydrates of this kind of foods should be better than these other ones. So we can start making the precision strategy thanks to this, let's say, first calibration or clustering process. Okay. Another one, which is more complex, is to start focusing on nutrition, a precision nutrition strategy focused on all the attributes and tags that we have in the database. We have our own nutrition database, and each item has like from 50 to 60 tags, okay, or attributes. So we use these attributes in order to try to cross technological process in order to automate in a big part all the let's say receipt creations or receipt generations for different kind of clients. Up to date, I need to say that we are reviewing everything from our nutrition and scientific team, but the aim for the next year is to have this process completely automated thanks to the artificial intelligence.
And with like one thing interests me very much because you started with that personal story, this personal angle of the disease, right? In a more general way. So how does glucovibes contribute to the prevention of diseases? The prevention, obviously, and the promotion of overall wellness. I mean, are there any specific strategies or initiatives that you focus on preventive care?
My disease, in this case, is an autoimmune disease, so it's not something that you could prevent. I mean, if it comes with my genetic, let's say, pattern. But there is a study. I don't remember which was the university which did it right now, but it was like the 20% of our, let's say, future metabolism is in our genetic pattern. Okay, this is something that we cannot change. A 10% more is focused on the environment where we live. So I mean, if we are exposed to a very toxic environment or in a big city with pollution, or probably we could have a 10% more of probability to experiment, let's say, chronic disease in our 60s, 70s, or even earlier, depending the situation. But the 70% that is that the rest, if we leave in one hand genetic and environmental aspects. It's our lifestyle. So depending, the three pillars are nutrition, activity, and sleep or recovery. So depending those three, uh, we have 70% of our health span, okay, for let's say second part of the life. So let's say the way. In my case, um, I achieve a very good balance between these kind of tools and my lifestyle, and I learned which kind of nutrition strategies is better for me, activity, sleeping strategies. So currently, today, I am not taking any kind of pills, drugs, anything. I mean, for my illness. So I'm doing a complete normal life, and it is thanks to understand how my body works internally. I used to take a big amount of carbohydrates for breakfast, for example, in my, let's say, 50, 20 years ago. As I said, I am a very sportive guy, and I thought that the big amount of carbohydrates were a necessity, no matter the source. And this is something that I found that didn't very well for my condition. I mean, carbohydrates are a necessity for myself because I am consuming a lot of carbohydrates per day, but not all the carbohydrates affects in the same way to my metabolism. So these kind of tools allow me to understand which kind of breakfast could be better than other. Something that I try to avoid is added sugar or the sugars that we can find in cereals, snacks bars, this kind of hidden sugars, let's say that well, which in my case, as being very refined sugars, are not very good to my metabolism. I'm experimenting very big peaks, glucose peaks after having this kind of meals. Instead, if I take in other kind of more natural foods like fruits or some kind of fruits or oats or other kind of homemade, let's say, natural food, I am experimenting much lower peaks. So I know that with lower peaks, I have a less inflammation in my body as well. And as I said, my condition is a inflammation problem, which is an autoimmune illness which inflames my some of my articulations in the body. So if I maintain a lower glucose peaks after each meal, I mean, I have less necessity of this kind of anti-inflammatory pills and drugs. So this is my case. But if we focus in other kind of problems such as overweight, obesity, diabetes, with diabetes type 2, that they are very related, the three of them, the problem is the same. If we are eating big amounts of carbohydrates or most of all refined carbohydrates or ultra processed food with trans fat together with added sugar, so we have the perfect storm because probably we will be experimenting high glucose peaks. This demands high needed necessity or high needs of insulin in our body, and probably we will be let's say we probably could be storing a lot of fat, and as we had high levels of insulin at the same time, we could have very big problems to burn this fat that we are saving. So this process repeated every day, in every meal, in every week, in every year, 20 years later or 10 years later, could be obesity problem, could be a diabetes type 2 problem, or even could be a cancer, okay? Because it's a way to, let's say, destroy the ability of our hormones to keep our body in balance. So we have people that come to us because they experiment in different kind of feelings during the night or during the day, and we check that they are experimenting some insulin resistance due to the lifestyle that they are let's say consuming, if I can use this word for lifestyle. So these are the relationships between what we are doing and this kind of chronic disease that they are growing in a big amount each year.
Nutrition is one thing, but sport is the other. And I know you've been a very active amateur athlete in a sense, mainly endurance sport, right? Mainly long distance. Could you talk about obviously your passion for long distance sport, but what interests me the most is how it intersects with your professional life and the company you're running right now.
Mhm. I will start for the last part. Okay, working together in the environment that you feel as your patient is let's say the best way to wake up in the morning, because you don't know if it's Monday, Tuesday, or Saturday or Sunday. So it's I mean a way to live, work in something you love, and as I said, I had as well this emotional link together with my kids. So it's an extra boost for waking every day, right? And put all my efforts in this. Together with some routines, for example, in order to understand how I managing everything. I used to wake up quite early, 5 a.m. most of all. I try to work out depending the day. I used to go for a run or for a ride in my bicycle in summer. In winter, as we live in the Basque Country and there is quite rainy area, I have a smart bike, indoor cycling, let's say, and I well, so I mean, there is a way to exercise for those endurance activities I do, and I used to have from 2 to 3 or 4 sessions of weightlifting as well per week, because the muscles need to be stressed not just in aerobic way, and weightlifting is a very powerful tool for metabolism as well. Okay, because together with the nutrition that you mentioned before at the first part of this question, I would say that the endurance sport of the more aerobical activity could improve the number of mitochondria that we could develop in our muscles. Okay, and mitochondria is the place where the energy, where our body generates energy from the fats and from the glucose that we have storage in muscles and the liver. But the way to make those mitochondria growing is through, let's say, weightlifting and this kind of more intense effort. So this is the different kind of, as I said, running, cycling, swimming. I came from the triathlon, as I said, and weightlifting, and together with working with the family or having different kind of football, or I mean, the thing is to keep yourself active and moving.
But
And,
you said you were running 80 kilometers per week in your prime.
yeah, but I mean, long ago. Oh, long ago. I mean, currently running. I will check. I will tell you
What
how
was
much
it?
kilometers last week. Last week there were 32 kilometers. Last week, 32
okay.
in two sessions.
But back to the achievement, like what's what's the achievement you're most proud of from the in the sports area?
I will say that when the doctor told me that I had this chronic illness, he told me to start or to stop running, to forget myself from a triathlon, these kind of things. And I had in my mind the Ironman as a let's say achievement, right? So at the beginning, I forgot this dream, but it was in, I think that is quite six, no more, 7, 8 years ago. So I start thinking, okay, I will do it, but I want to do it in a, let's say, in a very special way. I am not, let's say, engaging myself in a race with more people. I don't know, the Ironman of Hawaii or the Ironman of wherever. No, I want to run my own Ironman with carrying with my meals, with my food, with my puncture repair, everything. Okay, as a, let's say, Alberto against the world, so me against me. Okay, in order to understand that. So I took some time in order to define quite aggressive, let's say, ride, and I have to. I live in San Sebastian, which we have the sea in the city, so it was quite easy to go to the sea and swim and to define 3,600 meters for the swimming part. I draw a ride for the bicycle with the climbs that I like it the most, around 80 kilometers of my city. So to define the 180 kilometers, and I ended defining a marathon in 2 laps close to my home. So it was a very good way to achieve a dream, because it was like it's not the Ironman of whatever. So it was my definition of Ironman. I defined the track, I defined the schedule, I defined everything, and it has, from my perspective, uh, an endurance concept, because it was each time. I mean, the transition area, it was my house. I was at home after
Nice.
swimming, after riding. So it was very easy to give, okay, that's enough so far, and tomorrow I will end. No, it was being at home and okay, now to the bicycle, go ahead. So that, I will say that I'm quite proud of that, let's say, experience. But in this year, I went through from San Sebastian to the Valle de Aran, which is an area in the Catalonian Pyrenees. There are almost 400 kilometers, something less, crossing all the big mountains of the France Pyrenees, like Ubix, Tourmalet, Aspen, Pays de Sur. So I did it in 2 days on my bike, as well in autosufficiency, or let's say just myself. And it is a very good way to connect with my body. And I like this kind of, let's say, endurance situations. You
Yeah.
know, different kind of places, different kind of people. You know yourself a lot, and you have a lot of time to thought and to think in different kind of. I love that.
Yeah, your own Iron Man. I like it very much, to be honest. But I have also have a question about the nicknames. You've been called the Doctor of Machines as well. I mean, I wanted to explore your personal life a little bit. So you've been called the Doctor of Machines. Like, what's the story behind it?
Yeah, that was one journalist long time ago when I was focused my career in this, as I said, in this patent, focusing data analytics and artificial intelligence to predict the failures of the machines. And I told him in an interview that I was following the vital constants of the machines, that I was trying to simulate an artificial immune system for a machine. So I think that you know how journalism works. So this one was a very clever man, and he thought that putting as a title Alberto Conde Mellado, the machine doctor of machine or machine doctor. I don't remember very well how was the the highlights. But yeah, it was the let's say the history of this nickname.
I want also. I want to ask you about your plans. Like, what's the future of Glucovibes, and what are your plans in general?
Good question. I mean, I would like to help them the bigger or the biggest number of people possible for the next years. So always from a very scientific point of view. I mean, I don't like this kind of Instagram accounts or influencers telling the people who or what they need to eat or what they need to perform on how to sleep or not, just because it works with them. I mean, I think that this is a very serious topic, and we need to put a lot of science behind that. Science and these kind of services, which are quite innovative, it's not a quick race. It's like a marathon. So you need to think in the long term and put steps in different kind of in the next kilometers. And I like a lot. I think it was Bill Gates who said that we tend to overestimate what we can achieve in 1 year, but sometimes we underestimate what we can achieve in 10. So I focused on that. So trying to be realistic. Of course, we want to grow and to grow internationally. We need to put more effort in sales. We need to put efforts in marketing, and most of all, we are putting efforts on science and evidences. Okay, so I enjoy a lot learning every day, and this is the focus I would like to put. I see the Glucovibes future as a clinical research in order to avoid diseases, not to treat them. Okay, so this is my perspective of health 4.0. Okay, it's the way to prevent what currently is happening in the world, which a lot of problems are happening at early stages, and most of all in children, even under 18 years, experimenting diabetes type 2. In Spain, we have more than 30% of obesity problems in children under 18 years old, which is, I think, the third country in Europe with this problem. So I would like to have some kind of legacy in this kind of improvement of the society. But it's not an easy, let's say, way. But yeah, that's my dream.
That's a great perspective, and we obviously wish you all the best, Alberto. Thank you for joining today, and for sharing your experience and your story. It's quite inspirational.
My pleasure, Jan.
Stay in touch with us. Subscribe to our podcast, give us a like, comment, or share. If you want to reach out personally, you can find me on LinkedIn and Instagram.